What if? Mirror Mirror Fruit Pirates One Piece by Shadowfan360. One day, you were just going about living your own life while playing, reading, and watching everything that was One Piece. But then, as you slept after a long day of doing all of that, you woke up with the smell of seawater. You somehow found out you were now on a small island surrounded by water, with a weird fruit as the only thing you could see, along with a system that just tells you all the info about One Piece that you may need. So now, it's time to live your dreamed pirate life. Status: Name: Ado Arita. Pirate Level: 1. Devil Fruit. Mirror Mirror Fruit. Ability: Copying the abilities that the user touches with their hands, but only one at a time, and based on their own power at the time. Skills: Martial Arts Level 1. Acrobatics Level 1. Sailing Knowledge Level 1. Guns Level 1. Map Reading Level 1. Translator Level 10. Blunt Resistance Level 1. Blade Resistance Level 1. Piercing Resistance Level 1. Fire Resistance Level 1. Farsight Level 1. Crafting Level 1. Footwork Level 1. System Level 10. Titles: Devil Fruit User. Able to use the power of the fruit, but lose the ability to swim in sea water. Transported. Coming from another world that is not your own. Able to understand all this world's languages at the loss of your own. Lost. With no one else but yourself, you can now see farther and have more knowledge to get out from there. Chapter 1. Lost. After spending what felt like an entire week on an island that had nothing but sand and a single tree in the middle of it, all that you had were random things that had washed ashore. The only thing you had to keep you company was the system that you now had, and figuring out everything you could about it. You worked on a way to find out how to escape, but even if you somehow got new knowledge from the system, you still had no idea how to make a safe boat, so you could be free and able to travel all around the world of One Piece. After a while of just finding and killing some sea creatures so that you could eat, you saw that you had leveled up. It unlocked the One Piece Information Guide. When you clicked on it, what you saw was really just a form of Google, but only for things about the One Piece world, whether it be games, movies, the anime, or anything else in between. As you ate everything you could find to help make your food better tasting, you looked and found the different ways to use both haki and rokushiki. Since you had nothing better to do than to try and get some good parts to make a boat, find food, or just be bored out of your mind, you spent your free time training. You practiced your ability to use both haki and the skills of rokushiki. But there was one problem with your training: how much of a pain it was to create the different ways for you to learn the forms and techniques. But the only thing you had was time, since there was nothing else to do but wait and try to find a way to leave the island. Day after day you would train, fight, eat, and sleep, with some rare chances of you making a way to sail away from this tiny bit of land you now called home. With a lot of time on your hands, you had gained quite a few titles. They were: Overachiever. As you work harder than anyone else, you gain a 10% increase in all skills you work on. Multitasker. From your grand way of doing everything at once, you now gain a 25% increase when you are doing more things at once, but get a 25% decrease when you try to work on one thing. Survivor. Fighting the odds. You have survived when others would not. You now get a 50% increase in combat when health is at 20% or less, and gain the passive skill regeneration. Trainer. From your hard work and dedication to training your body, you gain an increase of 50% for everything that involves the body. Even though you were happy with all of it, that meant nothing. All it did was increase what you had and decrease the time to learn new things. But that was just the overall time, not a clear time until you get stronger from it. There was nothing better to do with you being all alone on the island, so you just continued on training your body and tried to hone your skills, even if you had no way of knowing if it was the correct way of doing so or not. But you went forward anyway. After a long while, you started to have fun training and began to always end the day with a smile on your face when you finished it. Then one day, you finally got enough salvaged parts to make a boat so that you could sail away and explore this brand new world that you now live in. But once you set sail, you knew you now had a new problem. You had no idea where to go, or even where the island was located in the world. So, you went back to the island and tried to figure out anything to help you locate your position besides just water, as that was everywhere in the world of One Piece. The only thing that you had seen was some Navy ships passing. Even if you could get their help, you would not, since you don't like the Navy in One Piece since they have to obey the celestial dragons. As you looked out for anything, you began to wonder how you would interact with the Straw Hats and the friends they will make, and how fun it would be to live and experience everything that they were at the moment. But that was only if you were in the past, and not the future of One Piece. After a long while, you get the answer to a few of your questions as you see a ship with a goat head. You become the most excited you think you could have ever been. The only thing that you wanted to do now was figure out how you could get over there and hopefully join up with them. Finally, you just decide to go all out. You grab your boat, push yourself into the sea, and start to paddle to try and reach them. But it was all for naught as they left farther than you could see. You no longer knew where the island was, so you knew you were not going to last long. But then, as you were wallowing in your despair, counting your hours, you get wrapped around by what you know to be an arm. You start to soar all the way over to the Going Merry. When you land and look up, you then see. Chapter 2. Meeting the crew. After looking around, you see that everyone you knew and loved to watch before was now in front of you. But there was only one problem. You were tied up and covered in bruises along with Luffy because he dragged you aboard after they left Syrup Village. When they all finally calmed down, Nami starts demanding answers that you have no way of knowing how to answer. But before she could do anything else, Luffy said that it would be fun to have you come along with them on their adventure, which you agree to. But then Nami knocks you flat, and the last thing you hear is something getting slammed before passing out. When you woke up, you were now being used as bait by both Zoro and Luffy to try and catch some really big fish. Having survived as long as you did and having nothing better to do, you just accepted your fate, hoping not to get eaten. Before you could get eaten, Luffy grabbed the fish and started to play with it. You fell in front of Nami. You could practically see the horns and tail popping out of her after seeing how much you had suffered. The ropes holding you then fell off, freeing you. After Usopp made you a boat, Nami gave you a choice since Luffy grabbed you out of nowhere and you had no real chance of surviving without one. The choices were, take the boat and leave if you wanted to lead a normal life, or Luffy then pipes up saying join his crew and have fun together being pirates of the sea looking for the One Piece. Without thinking, you grab Luffy by the hand and say that he was your captain and this was where you belonged. As you did, you got some new information from the system which, after looking and guessing, was being able to know some information about your crewmates and power acquisition. As you looked at it while getting some rest on one of the hammocks, you saw that it allowed you to get a person's abilities that you did not have at the level of the person when you acquired it. When you looked, you saw that you had gotten Rubber Level 3. It said that as long as it was active, you could have the same body as Luffy. When you woke up the next day, you tried to figure out a bit more of what you could do while everyone was doing their own thing. Since the only other person that had some kind of useful ability was Zoro, you asked to spar with him to help build up muscle and see how far both of you could get from swordsmanship. After touching him, you found out that you could only have the abilities of one person at a time, and that gaining a new one made the other one go away. But seeing as how only one person could have a type of devil fruit power, you could lie about swordsmanship instead. As everyone moved clear enough away for you both to beat each other with wooden sticks as to not damage the Going Merry, you saw that what you had gotten was Roronoa sword style level 4, which made sense since he would use different sword techniques. As you both sparred, you could tell that your body was improved and moved like you had been doing all the work Zoro had been doing for years in just a few seconds. You then got destroyed as he still had a lot more experience in battle than you. When it was done, Zoro just sat down and took a nap like he almost always does in the series when he had free time. Having nothing better to do and not wanting to help in the craziness that was Luffy when he was excited for a bit, you tried to get Nami to at least tolerate you. Which to your surprise, she did. She just wanted Luffy to not be so random since he was the captain of this ship and its crew. But she did threaten to destroy you if you tried to come between her and her berries, which you would never dream to do since you knew how scary she could be in the series, and in person is a whole lot worse. After getting her to trust you and calm down for a bit, you then went on to train your observation haki, since it was the one thing you really wanted and needed for certain reasons that were very important to you and being able to help others. The only way you were able to train and increase its level was from the system, which did all of it mentally. This made things a lot worse since it hurt a whole lot more since the pain was sent directly to your mind. When you finished your training, you saw that you had increased your hockey by a level and that you had acquired the skill mental fortitude. All it did was make it harder for others to mess with your mind at higher levels. And as far as you knew, there was no need of it at this moment in time. When you got done looking at your stats, you were called by Luffy as they had met some strange man. Knowing what was about to happen, you laughed a bit since you thought Sanji was funny and was interesting to watch. But you knew he was going to be annoying since you wanted to get with some of the girls, and he would try and stop you from doing so. Chapter 3, Baratie Arc. As everyone was confronting and talking to Zoro's old bounty hunting friends, you went off and grabbed some limes that were inside the ship's kitchen to make a refreshing and workable drink for them to have and enjoy, even with your limited knowledge on cooking. When you finished making it, you brought it over to Yusaku, opened his mouth, and let him chug the whole thing till he felt better and got rid of his scurvy. After he wakes up, the both of them introduce themselves fully this time. Everyone says that you were their new cook before letting them know you made that by luck and your limited knowledge. You all then agreed to get a professional cook for the trip. Then Johnny told everyone about a restaurant on the sea called Baratie. Along the way, you all passed a group of Marines led by a guy called Iron Fist Full Body who thought nothing much of the pirate crew nor the bounty hunters that were accompanying you all to the restaurant. As the guys were getting mad and threw out wanted posters, you casually held Nami as you knew what her reaction towards seeing one of them would be. You said that she could count on her friends and that they were all ready and willing to help her. But before she could say or do anything, you left, since you did not want to cause a change too severe that would make it hard for them to save Nami's village and take down one of the worst pirates that you could think of in the East Blue. When you look up, you see your captain send a cannonball right at the way you knew it was heading. Instead of Luffy taking the blame alone, you decided to help since it could have helped gain the experience needed to maybe get a cooking skill. But they just wanted the man who caused the incident instead. So as you and the rest of the crew made your way towards the inside of Baratie, you all saw Sanji in his full glory with a severely beaten full body and severe wounds as he had just wasted some food in front of Sanji, which was a huge no-no. Afterwards, you see Zeph and Luffy fall through the ceiling. Zeph gets angry at and demands more from Luffy before then kicking both Sanji and full body for different, but most likely similar reasons. A Marine stirs up trouble before getting shot by the man who was desperate for food and trigger happy with his pistol. As the guy then starts to get beat by one of the servers of the restaurant, Sanji starts to make a dish for the guy as Zeph watches before then delivering the dish to the hungry pirate. As you remember what happens next with the help of the system, you offer your services to help pay for the damage your captain had made. As you help out, you can't believe how bad Luffy is with basic chores as you help them out with basic food prep along with the other odd jobs they tell you to do. You wonder how long you would have to do this for to be able to get the cooking skill, if there even was one. After a while of doing random chores, you get promoted to only doing the basics of cooking since they needed it more. With the help of Zoro's abilities being active, it made you cut a lot faster than you would normally be able to. After a long while, you eventually got cooking. After getting your break, you read what it was, and were not very pleased with what you saw. This skill lets the user store all knowledge they have about cooking and records the recipes for any dish consumed. It can only be made the same way if the user has the knowledge. After a bit of crying, you got over it, and just continued on with trying to get better, while also this time making sure to see how others cooked their foods. You planned on watching how food was made in the anime to get better, while also helping Sanji with his cooking just in case. A few days later, you have been promoted to being the head server of the restaurant. During those times, Nami came by to enjoy some good free food made by Sanji. You took a page from his books on how to serve customers, and when you did so, you could swear for some reason you felt death was around the corner. When Don Krieg then comes in with Jin, as you knew what was about to happen, you tried to find something you could use as a blade, while making sure that everything was turned off in the kitchen and everything was safe and secure before the big brawl would go down. Before anything goes down, you just wait while hearing about in person what kind of man Zeph used to be. Knowing what kind of world One Piece is, you sharpen the knives while waiting for the stab in your backs and the start of the battle after their ship gets split in half. After Zoro has his battle and steals his resolve to be the world's greatest swordsman, you wonder what your ambition is. Afterwards, Luffy makes a promise that yours and his debts will be repaid if you both take Krieg's men, with Zeph immediately accepting. After the restaurant gets bigger, the battle starts to begin. As you have never really fought anyone before, you think it would be best to use Zoro's abilities, but decide not to, as you need to get better on your own if you are to run with the Straw Hats and not let them down. So with nothing else to do and not wanting to rely on cheats from your devil fruit powers, you then begin to fight them man to man. Even though you suck at fighting, with Zoro's hard work you are still a bit better than how you would normally be in a fight. When you finally take down one member of Krieg's crew, you see that you had leveled up, but got nothing except knowing that even just knocking people out would grant you experience. But before you continue, the area went on fire as the Pearl guy lost his marbles from getting a nosebleed. When it was finally over, you heard Jin point Zeph at gunpoint as Pearl then starts to beat Sanji senseless before then stating how he could never repay Zeph enough for what he has done. Before Luffy, out of rage, destroys the fin of the ship as he believes it to be stupid to die for a restaurant. As the whole thing goes down between all of them, you make your way over to Don Krieg to fight it out with him as you need the training. Feeling like it would help you greatly for the fight to come, you then start to battle him as Sanji and Luffy have their own problems to deal with. But even though you know what that guy is hiding and what type of man he was, you still want a little in the end, as you gave him a little scratch made from a nail you had picked up a bit earlier before then getting kicked hard by him back over to the restaurant. Barely clinging to consciousness, you see Krieg then prepare his poison gas bomb. Not being able to do much of anything, get ready to take in the gas as you tear off a sleeve of your shirt and try to make it act like a gas mask. After waking up having somehow survived the poison gas, as Krieg is distracted by Luffy, you think of helping, but realizing that the man needed no help and that even if you wanted to, you could barely take a step, let alone throw a punch. Later, when you finally wake up again, you got up and made your way over to where everyone else was. As you eat some of the soup while looking at what was new, to your surprise, it was a bit more than you thought, as you were now level 20 and had some new skills and title. Fighter level 1. Poison resistance level 2. Blunt resistance level 1. Blade resistance level 1. And you got one new title, Blind Luck. You survived an encounter you should have not. For being able to do so, you have 50% more luck in finding things and hitting things. When finished, you then got on a boat to go and find Nami while waiting to get a chance to punch the guy who made her cry. You also get Sanji's ability before switching back to Zoro's, as you felt it was only right to use it. Chapter 4. Arlong Park Arc. As you and the rest of the future Straw Hats sail on a boat lent to you by Yasaku, as usual, Luffy is unable to contain his excitement at arriving at the Grand Line, as Sanji now permanently joins the crew. But all that was left was to find and get Nami and their ship back. Sanji sighed. Nami, I could just sit around all day and think about how beautiful she is. I can't wait till I get to see her again. After saying that, Yasaku tries to get everyone to know what they are up against when facing Arlong and the commander of the Kenomi Islands. When he said that, you had a puzzled look, as that was not something mentioned at all in anything that you had previously seen. To your knowledge, it should only be Arlong and a weasel-looking marine controlling and transforming the island into Arlong Park. When you asked more about the commander, he was delighted to tell someone the full scope of what they were getting into. The commander is the name given to the man who had taken control of the Arlong pirates, Yasaku explained. He makes them do everything for him and take all the blame, while he takes the fame for going after them. With that way of doing things, he settled his main base on Kokoyashi Village. Before any of you could say anything, he went on to detail how he was once a marine and that he used it to do everything he pleased and made sure to control all information on everything he did and what the Arlong pirates did. But nothing stops Luffy from being himself as he draws what he thinks fishmen look like. You and Sanji laugh at how stupid and funny his first drawing was, but lost interest on the second and third drawing as Sanji got really angry at the last one. Sanji then tells everyone that he was going to cook something and asked what all you wanted. After you all tell him what you would have liked, you help him cook since it was something to do, and you could continue learning how to be a better cook. After you and Sanji finished cooking, you all then sat down and started to eat your food, while also knowing what was about to happen and not really going to do anything about it since it was funny to see and probably more interesting to experience firsthand. Sanji was eating his dinner with class and a glass of wine as he was anticipating the moment that he could dine like this with Nami once again, while Luffy and Yasaku were running around over the last piece of meat on a bone that was left. When the giant cowfish finally appeared, Yasaku says that it might be hungry, to which Luffy then punches it as he wanted to save his food. Then Sanji scolds him for doing so towards someone hungry before trying to feed it, before smacking it hard with his legs since he felt it was going to eat him along with the meal. After Sanji kicks it harder and proceeds to knock him out, both Luffy and Sanji then continue their meal in peace like nothing just happened as Yasaku looked shocked and amazed at what he had just seen. You were now training since you finished your food and had nothing better to do. Yeah, faster. Must go faster. Luffy yelled. There it is. Arlong Park is dead ahead. Yasaku screamed. Right. Next stop, Arlong Park, Luffy said. You all were making great time getting to Arlong Park after Luffy and Sanji tied up the fish cow to pull the boat across for all of you, while Yasaku was terrified at how fast he was going and to where he was going. Nami, hang on, you whispered. You all then get to where Arlong Park was, but you also see that a giant building was next to it looking like a palace for a king. You could only guess that was where the commander had made his home, as you wondered what it could possibly mean, since this was not something that could happen from you being there since you had been on an island this whole time. You could only draw on one conclusion, that there were others like you in this world, but unlike you, they were doing everything they had pleased with this world. The giant cow fish then rams into a wall, and after a giant water explosion happened, it then sent all of you flying. The only thing that you could say was that it was an interesting feeling, as Luffy said that it felt just like they were flying. After you all then landed and rammed into Zoro in the process, you all tried to get yourselves sorted out after the crash before you all then went to look for both Usopp and Nami before Johnny tearfully came over and told you all the news. He's already dead, Johnny sobbed. We're too late. Big bro Usopp is dead. He punched the ground, still crying. Nami murdered him. But no one believes what Johnny said to be true before Nami then shows up calming that she did kill Usopp, only for everyone else to call her a liar. Nami then appears and starts talking bad about how Luffy called her a friend and about Usopp, while also telling them about how Arlong was getting ready to kill Zoro and his entire crew. She swung her staff. I don't care how monstrous you guys think you are, you're no match for the real monsters. I promise, if you stay on this island, you will die. As Zoro gets angry, Sanji just swoons over how heartless Nami is acting, saying how she looked so hot, while saying how they should just run away with each other, greatly annoying Zoro. You just mouth the words good luck, while also telling her to move her money, shocking her greatly before Luffy just falls on the ground planning on taking a nap, as he and none of you were going to leave without Nami. After touching Luffy to switch to his abilities, you then walk off towards the giant building where the guy called Commander is probably staying. You feel that since you both are not natives to this world, it's up to you to take him down, since it was the only thing you could do. As you ran off, you beat a couple of fishmen by striking them first with your fist like Luffy, while also seeing that they all have strange marks on them and glowing eyes, as well, giving you a vague idea of how his powers worked as you marched forward towards your first enemy. After running for a long while, you then get closer to the tower, and it is a lot bigger than you thought, but it wasn't going to stop you since you felt guilty and responsible for what someone like you had done to this world. After reaching the front of the building, you were surprised to see people that should have showed up a lot later and aren't acting like their normal selves. You could see that they were changed because of the commander's power. You then knocked them all out with Luffy's signature Gum Gum Gatling attack. You then walk in to see that Tashigi was serving under him. She fixed her eyes on you and tried to strike you like she was doing with the others with a metallic whip. But as you currently had the body of Luffy, it proceeded to bounce off as you then grabbed it and slammed her into a nearby wall, before then walking away since no one seemed to mind or even understand that you were there or what had just happened. You kept walking further up the stairs. When you finally made your way to the top, you saw that the entire room was filled and decorated with the most expensive things that you could have ever seen and looked to be made out of solid gold and gems. What you guessed to be the commander sat on a giant golden throne. Once you stepped in his throne room, you could see that for a slight second, he looked pissed before then smiling and appearing right in front of you before then placing his hand on you, as you then felt a burning sensation within you. You are then pushed down the stairs before you could do anything else for what you believe to be for his enjoyment, as you then see him walk back to his throne. When you got up there a second time, he looked very pissed and annoyed, and without even moving he then said in a commanding tone that echoed all throughout the golden chamber, "Fall." You then felt the mark burn into you, but you persisted throughout the pain and continued to march forward as he continued to shout the same words before then changing it to kneel as you got closer, and when you were the closest you think anyone has ever gotten without his consent, he started to frantically yell, "Die." "Why are you doing this?" you asked. "What purpose does it give you as someone else that is not from here?" He looked confused before laughing. "Oh, today is my lucky day. I get to see the orange hair and despair and more strength from someone like me. This day is the greatest unlike any other." He continued, "Firstly, we can do whatever we want. We know everything about this place and can become kings. When I found out when I was transported, I joined the Marines, took power, and then I ended up on this pleasant little island before taking over Arlong and everyone else I fancied." He then lunges towards you and strikes you with what you know as the finger gun that Cypher Pole are known to use. But as you have trained your hockey, you just dodge his first attack and make yourself hard as steel as he tries to hit you another time. "Thanks for the answer," you said. "Now I don't feel anything towards beating you." You then used Gum Gum Pistol on him as a first attack, which had caught him off guard as he was not expecting you to be able to do what Luffy does. As he tried to get away, you used Gum Gum Whip to then attack everywhere he might have gone from him using the speed power from Cypher Pole. But as you were going to try and end this with Gum Gum Bazooka, you were stopped as you felt the girls try and attack you as you were trying to wind it up. The commander appeared before you. "So, little hero can't hurt others? Well, that's why I'll win in the end, and you won't," he sneered. Seeing that he forgot, you then use Gum Gum Spear as you knock him out of his giant tower window, but before he drops you catch him and swing him back in, as you did not want to kill him as you never wanted to stoop to their level. But as you did, you proceeded to whip him on the ceiling. He fell on the floor, passed out, but still living as the girls still tried to attack you. When you were finished, you saw what looked like your devil fruit, but hovering on top of him like loot for defeating a boss. When you grabbed it, you felt compelled to eat it like you did for your own. When you did, so you felt your whole body pulse as the entire tower then started to disappear as the people in it then started to vanish. Not knowing what was happening, you just jumped straight out the window and hoped for the best. When you did, you saw the whole building start to collapse like if it was being debuilt, while you also saw Luffy's leg getting ready to do his battle axe, which you then used to guide you towards Arlong, as you had something to give him as well. After Luffy's kick took him down, in the building they then saw something heading down. It was something you made on the fly called Gum Gum Sniper Barrel, as in gun barrel, as you were also twirling around before you hit Arlong, who stood back up from the rubble before you, then hit him, sending him flying straight down into the water below. Satisfied with yourself, you then proceeded to drown in the water, hoping someone would save you before you passed on for good. When you woke up, you saw what looked to be a blushing Nami and all the other Straw Hat crew surrounding you. You saw some new information on all of them, like how you normally would when playing an MMORPG with others. Setting aside learning what that was about, you then sat up with bandages all across your body like Zoro, as you were then told by a doctor that you had seemed to have broken every bone in your body and that it was a miracle you were still alive after being dragged from the water. Before you could ask anything, Nami then ran away as the doctor forced you to stay in bed for a bit to see if your bones had healed up a bit, since your body was unique, since you seemed to have devil fruit powers. The doctor then rushed in with Zoro as he then flopped you out of the bed, saying that you were healed if you didn't hurt when moving. He then forced Zoro on the bed to do a bit of surgery on him from the scar Mihawk had given him. When you got outside, you had lost your shirt in both the fight with the former commander and probably from falling like an idiot through all rubble into the sea with Arlong. As you walked, you could see all the girls gush when they looked at you before Sanji then grabbed you and proceeded to force some of his clothes on you before then joining some girls for dancing. You proceeded to then eat some food along with the rest of the crew while also getting ready to answer some questions even if they didn't ask for it, as you felt it was only right to do so. After chatting for a bit and drinking, you then went to the Going Merry, which you stoked, and asked her to take care of you too, before then heading inside to sleep. When you woke up, everyone was stocking the ship up with supplies and saying their goodbyes, as you also saw a few of the town girls hold up a sign saying that they would miss you, infuriating Sanji. Yeah, now it's time for us to get going, Usopp said. But we can't leave yet, we gotta wait for Nami, Sanji replied. Well, maybe she's not coming, Zoro said. What? Why not? Sanji said, getting ready to fight Zoro. If you try to hit on her again, I swear I'll break your freaking neck, you got it? Why would I do something like that? Zoro asked. She might not even be coming after all, Usopp said. She has achieved her goal, and Nami doesn't have to be a pirate anymore. She might be better off if she stayed here on this island with all her friends and family. All the while Sanji and Zoro were arguing in the background. She'll come, I'm sure she would, you said, pointing towards Nami. Nami then appeared as she then started running as you started to set sail with the Going Merry, surprising a few of them before Luffy then said that was what Nami said. She jumps on the ship before dropping all the wallets she had stolen from everyone. As she said her goodbyes, she blushed a bit when seeing you before then hitting you harder than she did before and probably more than she has towards anyone as you all then set sail towards the next adventure.